thanks for coming back and checking out the group page here. Appreciate it. And we just wanted today go through what our #1 priorities are when you come out to group training or come out and do anything with the group. And we prioritize water and first aid. And really, people have a lot of questions about, of course, well, what I need in my first aid kit. And we wanted to demonstrate that, so give you a good idea how to get started in building a first aid kit and you know, getting running on the ground as soon as possible. But aid #1 we'd recommend starting off is your standard military first aid field dressing or pressure dressing. Really, you can find these at any Army surplus store more than likely. You want to make sure the seals are still good. That's key. They do have expirations, but if the seal's not broken, if it's still got air inside, you're going to have a good dressing for that. And this is something you can start right off with. You can punch it into your pocket or somewhere on your gear and have it with you from day one. That way you've got something you can slap on a wound. And ideally, we want to use the principle of self-aid, buddy aid. So whatever's on your body gets used for you. This is not whatever you have, you carry. You're not a medic or a corpsman. You are, the stuff you carry on you, what somebody's going to come to you and use on you. And we'll get into that as we get into training. But start off with the first aid, looking at potential heavy trauma, bullet wounds, stuff like that. That's why we want to start off. You carry that, and you've already got a good basic start to your first aid kit. Another item you can get, it's a little more pricey, is what they call the Israeli dressing. It's another type of battle dressing. It's a little higher speed, I guess you would say. I would demonstrate how to put it on and everything. It's a little more complex. You can do it with one hand. That's the good thing about it. But what would be good is if you can go to a surplus store and find one that's open and maybe practice with it with your group or with your team. But it's designed to be used with one hand, and it's a really good way to go. You can supplement this and use it with a battle dressing, or have one of each. Or if you want to go ahead and buy this up front, it's just as effective as this, if not more so. And it's a larger one for larger wounds and stuff. So right there, you've already got a way to treat trauma. And that would be good just coming out to any event, going to the range or anything. So getting started. Now once you got those items, to build your first aid kit, first thing you want to start off with is a good pouch, or a good first aid kit pouch. Here's a couple of examples, just standard off the shelf pouches that you can find at any surplus store, through your catalogs, anything that's a good size. Let's see, compare size here. This is about a 6-inch long pouch, about 5 inches wide, to give you a size reference. You can get a little bit bigger. You've got things like saw pouches. Any type of created pouch as big as you want to make it that you can still carry, of course. So you want to find a good pouch that you can attach to your gear. Obviously these have the MOLLE systems. You got the old school first aid pouches. So you can have something like that has the clips on the back that you can put on your gear if you have it. But anything that's going to carry your gear. Now, what do I want to put in these? First off, when you go to your standard store, you might find something like this. You can find these at your hiking stores or online. The Adventure Medical Kits. Really, if you get something like this, you're going to have to strip everything out of it. Because there's not a whole lot of trauma stuff that you're going to find inside of a stock kit out of, say, Walmart or out of your drugstore or Walmart. You're not going to find, these kits don't have a whole lot of trauma stuff in them. These are really good for around the house or just with, nicks and cuts, but they're not going to do for your trauma. So you might get one of these, strip it out, and maybe paint it, paint it sand or green or whatever's in your area. But really the stuff inside it is going to be not quite as useful. So something to think about there. But going to load your kit, items you can get at, say, Walmart or your stores. First thing you want to have is a packing dressing. This is called Curlex. You can find it. This one, when I got this one, this was $4.50 a roll, which is kind of pricey. It's a little bit more expensive actually than your battle dressing, which is more complete. But this is going to be used to pack your wound, to actually get into a hole of some sort. You also have other types of gauze that come in smaller rolls. And here's another type, a compressed bandage. So those are types of dressings and gauze that you can use to pack a wound. You want to have something like that. It's again to get in the hole of a bullet wound or something like that, which is critical if you're going to the range. You want to be able to treat yourself. Next, pads that you can put on top of a wound before you seal it. You pack it, slap a dressing like these type of ab pads. Ab pads are good. Here's a 4x4 that you can get from the Walmarts and stuff. These are not quite as thick. You'd have to double up on them. But all these are pretty much commercially available. This is a 4x4 as well. And this one, 30 cents. 30 cents a pad there. So relatively inexpensive. You buy 4 of them. You usually fit 4 in a kit. And they go in the, just slide them in the back side of your dressing, back side of your pouch. Now, one thing you want to have in addition to that next, we'll look for a good roll of tape, medical tape. You can use duct tape, but when it comes to taking it off, it might not be as pleasant, but a good roll, just a roll of medical tape to treat the wound and wrap all this stuff up onto the dressing and go. So you got your tape. Also, what you can have is the rolls of elastic gauze, or your ace bandage type of gauze.
Yeah.
So you can roll around there and also provide pressure and hold the dressing in place. So that can go in conjunction with your tape or separate depending on the type of wound. Another thing you want to have in addition that you can have is a cravat. This is the technical name is a bandage muslin compressed is what it says on the actual, we call it a cravat for lack of a better term. But these pretty much are good for holding, slinging wounds, and also you can apply it and tie it down to hold a wound in place, or if you have to splint an arm or something like that, these are good for those purposes. So that's pretty much the first aid, your basics. If you start off with this and get this in your first aid kit, you're going to be good to go for your initial trauma items, and without much training. Pack a wound, slap a bandage on it, tape it up. It's pretty basic. Some more things you might want to get as you progress into a more advanced knowledge, understanding is your quick clot. Your quick clot, you can find these at gun shows and places that are more towards the gun enthusiast, I guess you'd say. It's starting to become more prevalent in the civilian market. Definitely for larger wounds. Along those same lines is the Hemocon bandage for stopping wounds and actually for packing the wound. It comes in a 4x4. It helps seal, stop the bleeding. And also, I guess finally, the most advanced stage is your Halo chest seal, or that's the name of this company, but just a chest seal. And a chest seal can be made at home. It doesn't have to be a commercially purchased product like this one. But basically, it's a seal that is going to be one way. It's going to allow air out and not allow air back in when you have a tension pneumothorax or you're relieving pressure from the chest. This is for your more advanced. This is something you want to learn before you actually applied it, but you also need a decompression needle, and to go along with that is your oropharyngeal or nasopharyngeal to help maintain an airway. These are, again, more advanced life-saving first aid items, but if you got the training and you want to move up, this is probably the next step, because when it comes to blast wounds and things, your tension pneumothorax in your chest and everything can be prevalent. So that's about, as advanced we will get in the group for your basic first line first aid. And when you go to pack it, just pack it good. One other thing to complete your kit, or really what you can get early on, is just have a good set of gloves that you can use whenever you're treating somebody else. Say you're not treating, you could be treating anybody, you don't know who they are, and a good that's been in practice now for many years out in the EMT world and stuff is just putting on gloves no matter when you're dealing with somebody and treating them. And if obviously they got blood and stuff going everywhere, you want to protect yourself as best you can, and having a good pair of gloves to put on, put that in your kit, right on top where you can grab it. So after our pressure dressing, one other thing to get is a tourniquet. Now tourniquets can be improvised with belts and things like that, but they also have the commercial version that can be put on with one hand. You can find these at gun shows and at other gun accessory stores, but are really advanced and be used big enough for a leg, small enough for an arm. Unless you got your 6'8" guy, he might have a hard time putting this on his leg or whatnot, but sizable tourniquet. Has the, demonstrate here a little bit, your twist application, and then it has the Velcro that can hold it in place once you get it tight. But there's other ways to improvise, and we can get into that when we do have some sort of first aid training with the group. But something to look for is getting a tourniquet. So one of the big questions is, how much is all this going to cost me to put together a kit? You can find pre-assembled IFAKs that are you can find in gun stores now and other outdoors type stores, and online at your military surplus stores and things like that. A pre-assembled IFAK, which can run upwards of $80 for the individual version. You can really save a lot of money just by getting the items we just discussed and packing your own bag, especially if you already have a pouch. The pouch is really probably going to run you, $25–30, depending on what you might have to look for or how big you want to make it. But if you build your own, you get a pouch, $25, spend $10 for the internals. You can get it for under $50. Building just a basic first line kit. When you get into the more advanced chest seals and things like that, those things will be add a little bit of money, and depending on what level of quick clot you get and things like that. But your price level, really, if you can shoot for under $50 to put a whole kit together. And really, like we talked about at the beginning, you start off with a pressure bandage and work your way up. You spend $250, $3 on a pressure bandage, and you've got your initial first aid. So I want to give everybody a picture of what to look for and what to be preparing for to build that first aid kit, which we do want you to have at all your training events that you attend, or when we go to the range or anything, because again, this is the kit that we would treat you with, that you build for yourself. So think about that too. You're going to be getting treated with what you have first before somebody's going to use their stuff on you, because it is first aid, buddy aid. All right, hope everybody understood, got something out of this. Hope it gives you some good ideas. Please comment. Check us out on the Modern Militia Movement website for the Northern Nevada Defense Group, and we can answer a lot of your questions there or in the comments below. And we'll look forward to see you out there.
Sitting around with nowhere to go. Sitting around with nowhere to go. You're talking to Jane, you're talking to Joe. Talking to Jane, you're talking to Joe. And then my recruiter came to me. And then my recruiter came to me. Say what you want to be. Say what you want to be.